OKKO establishes Dendy as someone with an inkling of fourth wall knowledge. She pops up whenever she's needed or summoned, which can include popping out of an event or conveniently showing up in the next scene whether she was physically there before or not. Since Dendy is ever present, she doesn't have an established hangout or general location like other characters do. Rad and her friends are in the alley, RMS and Brandon are at the frame store, the leads are at Gar's bodega, and we've got Fleas. Dendy reveals that she likes to sneak into and hang out around Rad's van. It's initially treated as one of her pops-out-of-nowhere gags, but then KO finds her conducting experiments under Rad's van in the episode, Dendy's Power. Rad's van is Dendy's favorite third space, especially after Rad gives her partial ownership of and credit for its maintenance in the episode, Hope is Flawed. Out of everyone in the cast, Dendy's best friend and favorite person is KO. Rad is her second favorite, and the only character she has an active dynamic with besides KO or her teacher, Ms. Quantum. When Dendy was first introduced, she didn't know how to tell KO that she liked him and wanted to get to know him better. She came up with a convoluted fetch quest, since recruiting his help to repair her pack felt more approachable than asking if he wanted to play or hang out. Before she actually approached KO, she performed recon, gathering as much information and details as she could. When she treated KO like a research subject, making a friend became an orderly and logical set of tasks like programming or the scientific method. She prefers to work from a checklist since it tidies everything in a way that makes otherwise big abstract concepts confusing or muddy. Dendy tries to apply the same approach to Rad. In KO's video channel, KO has become a fellow researcher, so when she drags him to spy on Rad's morning routine, Dendy is sharing a fun, weird tidbit about her favorite subject with a colleague. That's how she sees it, but the show frames the scene as a friend having a, hey, check out this weird thing moment. KO's video channel is also the first time viewers get a hint that Dendy is especially fond of and fascinated by Rad in particular. KO sees both Rad and Enid as inspirational, adoptive older siblings, but Rad is absolutely the older brother he always wanted. He idolizes Rad in such a way that Dendy has definitely heard him gush about how cool, strong, and awesome Rad is, regardless of when he fumbles or leans a bit too much into his machismo. KO's enthusiasm is infectious. Dendy partly frames herself as a second or substitute KO. She likes trying to see the world through his experiences and perspective, so perhaps Dendy hopes that Rad will adopt her as a second awkward, lovable younger sibling. Or she already sees herself as that role and is just waiting for the narrative to catch up. Hope This Flies gives insight as to why Rad doesn't like Dendy hovering around his van. Similarly to how proud he is of his beefy arms and washboard abs, his van is a reflection of how cool, capable, and manly he is. If something happens to his van, it might as well be a dent to his ego and self-worth. It's his project. It's something he has to build and maintain by himself with his own two hands to prove his self-worth and overall ability. The van is yet another piece of Rad's overall struggle with his masculinity. When Dendy wants to step in and fix his van, she wants to help a friend. While Dendy buys into KO's rose-tinted glasses vision of his favorite meathead, KO tries to work with and gently nudge at Rad's weak spots, and Dendy wants to address the problem directly. She doesn't recognize the underlying issues around why Rad won't let her touch the van or why he refuses help. Despite moments where she can get wrapped up in her own selfish desires or research, Dendy sees the value in others' skills or ability. She sees the power of collaborative teamwork and projects as a logical conclusion for solving problems. It's similar to how Mr. Logic, a character roughly equivalent to an It's Only Logical Spock in Star Trek, presents teamwork and community as the best ultimate outcome to a curmudgeonly and increasingly paranoid Foxman. Even after KO gives Dendy the framing, the van is like his baby, Dendy reveals how much of the world she sees through the same lens as programming. She's so determined that her solution is the best route that she mental gymnastics an excuse to upgrade Rad's van anyway. This includes her assuming that Rad will come around and recognize the episode's moral on a neat, efficient timeline. Instead, Dendy appears at the pivotal moment of the episode, saves him from crash landing in lava, and officially cements their friendship. When Rad was bargaining with Dendy, he assumed that she was trying to push him towards a grand epiphany or closure like KO would. On Dendy's part, she assumed that Rad would eventually see, accept, and understand her rationale for doing what she did. She's more interested in helping Rad reach results than fine-tuning his self-exploration. She's the go-to problem solver for KO, so why would Rad be any different? Their misunderstanding was a needed piece for Rad recognizing that Dendy isn't just an extension of KO, regardless of how she's presented herself, and Dendy recognizes what unique, tailored approach she should give talking to Rad going forward. After the events of Hope Flies, Dendy becomes Rad's assistant mechanic, co-owner of his awesome van, and honorary younger sister. And Dendy officially claims Rad as one of her favorite people after she lasers Dendy onto his shirt. She also respects Rad's request that she stay out of his van. So, if she's nearby, it's either next to, on top of, or under the vehicle. Not inside, unless Rad gives her his express permission. Stay out of my van has been one of my favorite jokes in this cartoon for years. Back in 2018, I drew a short, ridiculous comic showing that not only is Dendy sneaking into his van an ongoing issue, but it's Lakewood's favorite spot for couples to slip in and make out sessions. I said I'd redraw this comic, but for now, it's still one of my many, many projects sitting on the back burner.